So here we are, Wildwoods, Rafa, as the yellow Egyptian player, taking that first hunt. This time, making use of hunting dogs, the really good eco that the Huntables offer, and Grungy this time as the blue kelp player rather than red. What's he gonna do here? Proxy maybe, possibly. He's pulling a villager, one of his very early villagers. He's got 200 wood, so I'd imagine this is going to be proxy spears. Yeah, it'll be proxy spears behind the that distant wood line there, because this is sort of the main wood line for the Egyptian player. This is sort of this, I guess, the secondary wood line. And he's just going to hide behind that. So Grungy going to go for a bit of cheese. Hasn't got hunting dogs just yet, but I think, oh, he might even just use that to get onto the wood line first. But I really like take hunting dogs as kelp, just because I think it's nearly always worth it. The Egyptian player, Rafa, having taken it, probably working towards a barracks here as well, gathering wood and food from that first storehouse, just producing villagers as normal. Things looking swell for him, but I don't think he knows about this yet. So he hasn't scouted this because he's been checking over this side of the map at all the resources. So he's scouted out a lot of resources, hasn't actually found his opponent just yet, and hasn't actually seen the little proxy going down. So the barracks has finished up. For Grungy hasn't got the wood to produce another one or throw down any houses yet, so he's just going to bring that starting villager back, probably? No, he's just going to park her there, but keep trying to cram out some more wood gatherers. I think that's probably the smartest play to make, like a little bit of gathering down time. Sort of probably natural with a cheese like this, so Grungy actually going to use her to throw down the house. This is really smart in a sense. If he gets pushed off here, like it's an all-in, so if he gets pushed off here he's losing that, and it's a lot more value he's losing, but at the same time this means that he's continuing to gather the wood at home and the food that he needs to be able to throw down a second barracks and maintain double spear production as soon as that kicks off. So he can really pressure Rafa as soon as the barracks finishes, take a second age behind this, and go for Spearman Champion. Meanwhile, Rafa, his main option here is to really try and go for a fast barracks and get some axemen out, as well as trying to go for a fast town centre and get the covering fire that that'll offer, to be able to gather the gold and the food and the wood here, to be able to push out and break this little hold here. Because if he can do it, you know, he'll get a lot of value out of this. There's 150 wood, 200 wood worth of houses, and the same in a barracks. And Grungy's even going to try forward gathering now, bringing some villagers forward, because it means he can throw down another barracks quicker when he needs to, as well as pinch an opponent's huntable. Because he's gone for a cheese like this, he probably hasn't paid too much attention to scouting out the map. In fact, he's going to bring some villagers forward as sort of a halfway villager rush, I think, maybe. Yeah, no, he is. He's bringing some... He's doing a half commit villager rush right now, just to put some pressure on and make use of that proxy, which is really quite BM to see, but it's also quite interesting. He's going to make this a fast game. He's going to force the aggression on Rafa, who's not going to try and micro onto the town centre, because all he needs to do is really gather some stone, gather some wood, and try and focus these units down. But at the same time, Grungy still gathering at home. It's been good of him. He needs to get these villagers working again, though. Just like Rafa needs to be really smart in how he plays this, healing up the units without losing the priestess. Oh, he seems to be doing so, actually. But he's got a lot of idling villagers, which is bad for him. Having the two priestesses there healing is great, but he needs to try and get the house down, try and get some axemen out. Not just rely on losing villagers to do so, because that's a pretty bad habit to be getting into here. Like, he might be able to repel this first wave, but all Grungy has to do is back off and try and play a more standard game without throwing away too much down here. Try and delay his opponent, make him think you were possibly up here or something. But in saying that, Rafa manages to hold. The town centre is quite low health. There was no stone gathering by Rafa, And he is going to get back to work now. He's got 13 villages to Grungy's 15, so he's only behind by 2 vills. Grungy hasn't started any stone gathering just yet. And Grungy's distance gathering his own berries without picker's gloves as well, so he's not in a much better position in terms of his economy back at home at the moment. So a bit of an undercommit there, I think, from Grungy. And he probably forced it too early. He probably didn't need to go with the villagers, throw down a second barracks and do it. And poke a little bit earlier so that your opponent can't just get the axeman out. So, in saying that, he's still really a big threat right now to Rafa, who's going to need stone to repair that town centre and throw down a second one if he wants to be able to hold off from a second wave of this, because Grungy isn't far off from his age 2. Is going to be able to take Spearman Champion and probably just keep expanding his food eco at home here. He needs to scout a little bit better though, I think, because he's going to run out of food at home very soon. These berries aren't going to last forever, and he should probably put a storehouse down next to him. But he is mounting the aggression here this game, so Rafa sort of stuck inefficiently producing stuff and not actually producing villages. This is hurting him a little bit. Got a lot of axemen in the queue. Worried that he's just going to get overwhelmed with a massive spearman. And I mean, he's right, but he needs to remember to continue to grow his economy behind this. And all Grungy really needs to do is continue to mix long swordsmen in while he makes these spearmen and adds this spearman champion upgrade, because that's going to be great. It's going to allow him to actually snipe the town centre with great effect, as well as all the buildings, but he needs to add some long swordsmen in to actually fight the axemen with well microed Priestess of Ra and town centre support. But in saying that, Rafa, 13 villages to 20 now for Grungy. It was 13 to 15 not that long ago, so Rafa's missed an awful lot of villager production here. But he's really had the food in the bank to be able to meet, you know, and with that he'd be able to get the stone to actually get his second town centre out by now, and the wood. So he's being hurt a little bit in terms of his eco, just based off inefficiency, and he doesn't even know anything about the proxy. All Grungy moving out now, and Grungy's going to come in and snipe the town centre, so unlucky to Rafa, because he's going to be a bit slow, and he's not going to have the push potential the Kelp player here is, because at 6,000 health, Bertha's only about 2,000 when Grungy first engaged there, with units that actually deal a fair bit more damage to buildings. So you get 18 damage to buildings with the Spearman versus 8 damage to buildings with the Axeman here. So the Egyptian player, his town center's down. Rafa's forced into this weird spot where he can either try and force his own town center up, or try and snipe Grungy's and then just go for a big one last all-in attempt. But Grungy just has too many units, has a little bit of stone in the bank, needs to gather a bit more though if he wants to make it through this, but Grungy's town centre is also under threat, but his spearmen are going to get there in time. The axemen alone probably aren't going to be enough to take out the town centre now that some are going after these villages, and some of these guys are gathering a little bit of stone, so Grungy's got 30 stone in the bank. He's going to be able to repair the TC here, but a lot of these spearmen are going to die in this defense. But Rafa, I don't know if he's got the stone to make it out of this one. He needs to gather 200 wood, 250 stone basically, with only 6 villages. He's got a single axeman harassing Grungy down here, so he's harassing Grungy, but I don't think it's going to be enough. He's got 40 seconds to try and meet the villager gathering requirement there. And it's going to be a GG. Grungy even threatening the starting base there of Rafa. So yeah, the villager production really flatlined there for Rafa after that push from Grungy. He was just sort of too rattled to maintain his production, and it really hurt him. Grungy really only having brief segments of downtime in his villager production other than his age up. And GG guys, that's game number 2 in this series over. So both players will advance to round 2, but Grungy stays in the main bracket, and Rafa drops down to the losers bracket. And guys, I want to thank you all for watching.